this humongous like sleeping couch. Of course, Chris is sleeping, and she's in the bed. They got TV, and here's the interesting thing is that she probably hasn't watched Channel 5 News maybe 15 years. And they had that, they have like basic cable. She just goes, yeah, I was forced to watch all of your sportscasts yesterday. So
forced.
You had a captive audience of the highest degree, a woman in labor. I hope she doesn't associate those labor pains with anything she saw, for sure. That's so exciting. So did you and Monique get any sleep last night?
Well, I mean, we got home by, I guess, about 1. And then we got a text. It's like 7. Still no news. Just to tell us that. So, yeah, it's been an interesting time period, no doubt about it. So.
Oh my gosh! Well, this is super exciting, and I hope things go well and get moving for poor Brooke's sake, because the longer you're in labor, it doesn't necessarily equate to the better things are. It's just more exhausting for us.
How long were yours? Do you know?
Mine, the first one. Really, really long. Sometimes it is for the first one. But
like when you say long, is it like
about 24 hours?
Okay, so this is not highly unusual.
No, not at all. And the second one was not quite as long because they ended up having to induce because she was 8 days over. But my first one was not over. We were a little early, but it was definitely time. It's just she was a little stubborn in actually making her appearance. So it worked out fine in the end. It just is. It's exhausting for those moms doing all the hard work that they are during this most important day of her life. It's pretty exciting.
Let's see, not Dr. Rick, but Dr. Mark Dorsey. He just texted me and said this was a year ago today was my first day here at KTRS.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. So I'm glad. I think Mark and I met. What's the restaurant? Lindbergh and Conway, the Shack. Yeah. So we met there, I believe, and then he kind of put the full court press because I was talking to another station, and he kind of played hardballs, and I said yes pretty quick. It was almost like, okay, I'm coming. So, but I'm glad he did because he has been the best radio boss I've ever had, and it's a very nice place to work.
So let's. Do you mind if I ask you just a few questions about this 1 year experience now that we have hit this anniversary today? What about the transition from sports radio, which you did for many, many, many years, very, very, very well, to non-sports or talk radio? I mean, you have a sports show on the station here, but these 2 hours together every day, we certainly talk some sports because it's an important topic, but it's not all sports like it was at KFNS. What's the most interesting part of the transition, the hardest part, and the best part?
Well, the best part is definitely not having to talk sports minutia all the time. Like, I don't want to break down, the Blues minor league team and the fourth line and just topics I don't care about. But on a sports show, sometimes you did get into that stuff. Yeah, and then another great part is to talk about things that I really like besides sports, like food and politics and entertainment. That we did some of that, but you're just not limited to that little narrow scope.
Hardest part.
Yeah. I guess interviewing the marine biologist like a month in.
Mm-hmm. He's still hung up on that.
Yeah.
It's been a year.
I think
having the county library book guest for me. I mean, that was kind of that was.
Well, because it was out of your comfort zone is one aspect, and something that
it will remain out of my comfort zone.
And not necessarily interested.
But the range of guests is the great thing.
Okay,
I mean, gosh, to have who we had in yesterday, Greg Willard, and then to have Rich Gould talking life. I just think the best part is we get to interview the most famous people and the people who have accomplished so many things on this show and find out what makes them tick. I mean, this run of guests we're on is just insane.
Yes, and I think that's the most interesting part, too. I've also been very surprised, but often some of my favorite guests have been people that maybe the rest of the world doesn't know about, but that just are really passionate about what they do, they care about. Or when we get somebody on here who's well-known for something, what makes them tick is not the stuff that's giving them the public accolades. I think of Bob O'Loughlin. We've had on 3 times now on various important subjects. He doesn't want to talk about how much money something is making and how successful. It's really about how do we make our region better.
Yeah.
That's what's causing him to say, I'm not going to retire because we're not done with that job yet. That is inspiring, not just for us, but I think for everybody.
And to get the backstory on a guy like Rex Singfield, who was an orphan. I mean, and for him to tell the story of his mom dropping him off at the orphanage, and then just the way these people, females and males, have overcome all the obstacles in their life.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's interesting. I think it's really interesting how many smart people we have that are in analysis roles. I think of Anita Mannion, the political science, political analyst. Of course, Greg Willard, who we're so lucky to have on. Sarah Fensky, who's working harder than any journalist in town, keeping us all on top of stuff. I mean, of course, Mark Maxwell, your colleague, has been a friend of the show and brought us so much information to our listeners.
And then all these people like, Governor Nixon, Senator Danforth, Senator McCaskill. I mean, boy, it's an honor to have them on. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I'll stay another year now.
Okay, good to know.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have the opening dialogue on the Frank and Jill Show on the Big 550 KTRS.
Diana from Newstetter's Fine Jewelers here to remind you, we don't just offer the best pieces, we offer one of the last master hand engravers in our country. My father can create timeless, personal, and unforgettable pieces. Come by our showroom at the corner of Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or learn more online at wowdiamonds.com.
Looking for a new kitchen or bathroom? Call me, Anne-Marie Bogus, the co-host of The Inside Out Show and owner and designer of Anne-Marie Design Studio. Visit our website at annemariestudio.com. We can help you make your dream space a reality. We're a fine kitchen and bath boutique located in Wildwood. Our showroom phone number is 636-821-3395. And again, our website is annemariestudio.com. Let's turn your kitchen or bath into the dream reality with Anne-Marie Design Studio.
Dr. Joe, it can get very confusing, but the one thing we need to know is GLP-1, right? That's the magic cure.
Yeah, they're on the med, and these medications are used, these GLP-1s, for reducing inflammation in your body. I get so many folks that are like, wow, I don't have the knee pain. I don't have the...
Because once you start losing weight, all these other things naturally happen to you in a positive way. Not just talk about the deals for KTRS listeners at stlmedweightloss.com.
All KTRS listeners, they get $50 to $100 off their first month. And what's beautiful about it too, hey, I get it. The economy, what we just had, guys, things are difficult right now, but we make the plan work for you. We have financing options. We make this work for you because we realize how important it is to get down in your weight, get your confidence back, and really start feeling like the old you.
Call stlmedweightloss.com and ask Dr. Joe. stlmedweightloss.com.
It's Miller Furniture's 98th anniversary and sales tax holiday, going on now through August 19th.
I'm Mark Miller, owner of Miller Furniture and Mattress. We've been serving our customers with high-quality, American-made furniture at great prices since 1927. Right now, you'll save the amount equal to the sales tax or more on everything at our Belleville, Fairview Heights, Lake St. Louis, and Ellisville showrooms.
We have new and fresh looks on display like Flex Steel leather reclining sofas with power headrests and lumbar support, or our unique heirloom quality Amish-made furniture. Come see why we were voted Retailer of the Year by the Home Furnishings Association.
Shop our huge selection of American-made mattresses with brands like Chatham & Wells, Tempur-Pedic, and Stearns & Foster. Right now, get a free adjustable base when you purchase a Chatham & Wells mattress.
Let our 98 years of experience help you save time and money. 4 showrooms, one big celebration. Don't miss our 98th anniversary and sales tax holiday going on now through August 19th.
At Miller Furniture and Mattress for 98 years and counting, we put the family in furniture.
Do you have a high school or college student heading back to school this month? Now is the perfect time to visit New Balance St. Louis. We stock a wide variety of shoes that look and feel great. Our Fit Pros will help your family find the perfect pair of shoes for you. Excellent customer service, selection, style, and sizes are what you'll find at New Balance St. Louis. Shop local. Shop New Balance St. Louis with 2 locations in Creve Coeur and Richmond Heights. Nationally known, locally owned.
This is Mariah, 3rd generation at Newstetter's Fine Jewelry. Buying an engagement ring can be intimidating. At Newstetter's, we ensure complete understanding of your purchase. We offer a choice in both lab and mine-grown diamonds and are able to work with any budget. Let our family help educate you on your choice at Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or at wowdiamonds.com.
And now the opening dialogue with Frank and Jill on the Big 550 KTRS.
Powered by Worldwide Technology Raceway.
So thought one. So this weekend, I'm listening to one of my favorite podcasts, Real Time with Bill Maher. It's actually a TV show, but I just listened to it. Anyway, he had this columnist on named James Kirchick, and the topic of government conspiracies was brought up, and Kurchik made an interesting point. He doesn't buy any of them, from landing on the moon to 9/11, and he's definitely not buying at all the JFK assassination conspiracies. Bill said, "Why?" And he said, "I don't think the government is smart enough to pull it off. Have you been to the post office or a DMV?" Well, I was on Friday. I visited for the third time the Department of Motor Vehicles in Olivet. Third time. The first 2 times I was in line for 30 minutes and it wasn't moving. And I said, I can't take this anymore. So I had to bite the bullet on Friday and I timed it. 90 minutes to get 2 stickers to put on my 2 license plates. I'm in line with an engaging fella. And I said to him, imagine if a private company took over the DMV, a person who had to pay rent, had to pay employees, cared about his business, cared about his customers. Do you think it would be slightly more efficient? The post office, oh my goodness. That's why Frederick Smith founded Federal Express in 1971. He realized that companies like Xerox and IBM needed a faster and more reliable way to transport things. Federal Express, by the way, is now worth $52 billion. It's a long way from a comment on Bill Maher to Federal Express, but you get the point. Give me a private business over a government-run business any day of the week. With that said, the employees at DMV are very nice people. They are very nice.
So historically in Missouri, you have bought a franchise essentially, and they were kind of handed out as political favors, but they were sort of privately operated. I don't know exactly. We'll fact check and we'll come back on break and say how that's operating these days. I never found that particularly helped customer service in the case of DMVs because I don't think the motivation was there because we were sort of forced by government regulation. It wasn't an option whether we bought or not, right? There was no leverage of trying to earn customers. You had a built-in customer base. So I think that's the difference in why it didn't improve, even though there was.
But the bottom line is, like with the post, it's just more efficient if it's a private business. It is.
I think, as long as you have to earn customers' return visits, right? In this case, even if it's run like private business, I mean, one of the reasons that FedEx is successful is they have to beat out UPS and other people. There has to be some competition for the market to get the customers. So far, the DMV does not have that competition, right?
Yes.
Or same thing.
Okay. So you are correct. So it's who's ever running the business is not doing a great job.
Again, because I think the factor is not who's running it; it's whether or not the customers they have to do anything to make it better to serve customers, or whether customers have to.
Oh,
you have a
well, that's the
audience.
point. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. Okay, so I thought this was a little bit interesting. There is so much out there right now in terms of we're supposed to be eating more protein. You're a weightlifter guy, so you've been probably doing this for a while. Being a woman of a certain age, the encouragement to eat more protein is somewhat newer for me. My favorite hack, by the way, take a scoop of my favorite vanilla protein powder, mix it with Greek yogurt. Tastes surprisingly like cheesecake. Trust me on that. But here's where it matters to the rest of the world. The rising consumer demand for protein is transforming the dairy industry and proving very beneficial for dairy farmers, particularly through that utilization of whey, which is what the protein powders are often made of, a byproduct that was once considered waste. It's a liquid that remains after cheese production. It's turned into powder. Voila, there we have our protein powder. And it's really stabilized income for dairy farmers across the country because it was a buffer. Because if you remember, when milk prices were stagnant and volatile for all those other reasons, that value for the once discarded byproduct is really saving dairy farms across the country. I hadn't thought about that before. So not only are you supposedly making your muscles stronger and helping to get into later in life with some more stability and balance and all the things they say we get from having more protein in our diet, you're making the dairy industry thrive as well.
That's good to hear. By the way, are you a Greek yogurt fan?
I love Greek yogurt.
Yeah, and it's tremendously good for you, right?
Yeah, I think it's better than others. And you buy the plain one, you don't get as much of the sugar because that's the downside of some of the other kinds of yogurts. But then you put protein powder in, I'm telling you, tastes a little like cheesecake.
I've never heard that, but on your recommendation, I will definitely try it.
I haven't led you astray on too many of the things I make you sample in here.
Yeah.
You
I'm a big fan of
say,
your peanut butter, I'll tell you that. Okay, thought 2. The impact of a single person on what it can do to a company or a product. Now, the crazy thing is this. The person in the commercial or the advertisement is not going to make, say, the beer taste better, the car drive better, or the jeans feel better. And that's what most people are thinking when they try to make purchases, right? I mean, what tastes the best? I'm going to buy that. What drives the best? I'm going to buy that. What feels the best? But there are 3 examples that almost like disprove that. Sydney Sweeney, we're all familiar with it, American Eagle, now up 23%. One estimate had them making $400 million now since she started doing the commercial. It got an added boost after the Trump Truth Social post yesterday. Then there's Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light. CNN reported that the losses could have been as much as $1.4 billion. The transgender influencer was not well received. Jaguar decided to try a new concept described as a woke rebrand. You may have seen the photos. The CEO resigned last week. Per the Daily Mail, Jaguar sales dropped 97% in Europe. Think about it. American Eagle jeans did not get better. Bud Light beer actually did not get worse. And Jaguar's cars look as sharp as ever. Got to be careful on who the face of your franchise is. That's why at KTRS, our billboard person should be somebody like Jill. The daughter of a pastor, devoted mother, loving wife, successful in coaching and TV. Jill Farmer, she wants to talk to you. I could just imagine that's our billboard thing. What do you think?
You don't want yourself on the billboard.
No.
You're not the
I'm
face.
a controversial character. Okay. Jill appeals to more than mainstream.
Jill Farmer, who is she? We don't know either.
Now it leads me to this. Question for both of you and our listening audience on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126. And you can watch us on YouTube also and Facebook. Is there or has there been a product that you actually bought because of a single person? I thought of this last night, and Jill, you're familiar with the name Greg Norman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He was a swashbuckling golfer who won a couple of majors, lost some in heartbreaking fashion, but one of the coolest cats on the planet, just the way he walked and the way he looked. And he had a clothing line. He still does. And it was really a great clothing line. It was at mercerized cotton. It was sharp, great colors and everything. But I love Norman, so I would buy that stuff for polo shirts. He would be the one guy that I think I bought for. How about you? Is there a single advertiser?
Well, I would say yes. When if I'm really being honest in this, when I see somebody who I think is really, really beautiful, like Charlize Theron or Elizabeth Banks, and they're peddling a skincare item or some makeup, there is probably, at least subconsciously, a part of me that's like, wow, if I bought that and I look like them, that would be great. Does it ever work out that way? No. It never works out that way. But am I influenced, at least subconsciously, to think I want to try something out because I see that? Sure.
Yeah.
A million times.
I guess I'd have to go back to like high school when I was playing sports, and I'd wear Nikes because the athletes that wore Nikes were cool. The Nikes was what I was going for in that day.
Was there a particular one, or just?
I can't think if there was anything in particular, but just everyone wore Nikes, and that was because of the people they had, that wore Nikes in the pros. There's no reason. Nikes and Adidas, quality-wise, aren't any different. It's just about who you see wearing them.
Yep, a good thought. 84126. Who's an advertiser out there? A guy did, or a woman who did commercials who he thought, wow, I'm going to do it because of that person.
So before I had my knee replaced a few years ago, I swore I could tell when it was going to rain or big weather changes were afoot by the ache in my knee. And more than one person told me it's in my head. That's an old wives' tale that anyone could feel the forecast in their bone. But lots of people, not just me, have claimed when a storm rolls in, so do things like throbbing heads, aching joints, mood drops. Now, with sharper tools and larger data sets, more researchers are taking weather-related physical symptoms seriously. The term for this emerging field is meteoropathy, the study of physiological reactions to environmental changes, especially barometric shifts that disrupt circulation, rattle the nervous system. Evidence shows that atmospheric instability influences things like hormone levels, and it affects how pain is produced and may explain things like migraine attacks, joint stiffness, fatigue. And it's thanks to apps and wearable fitness and health technology products like the Apple Watch or Whoop. They are helping the researchers map the body's invisible reactions to weather in real time. So it turns out it wasn't in my head all along. It isn't just an old wives' tale. There is some actual science to back up. In certain cases, we can feel the weather in our bones, so to speak.
Really? I've never heard that.
Have you ever noticed it? You don't notice
No.
it? Oh.
I thought, I am old, but I thought it would happen more to older people. They could...
I think so. To me, people, like for me, I had a ton of osteoarthritis in my joint, so I think that's what triggered it for me. But I've never been a big migraine sufferer, but now they can prove that when there's like a storm within X number of miles, that people who do suffer from migraines are more likely to have them triggered and or more serious ones. So it's an interesting field, but I think it makes some of us who were told we were a little bit crazy maybe feel a little more justified when the science starts to back up what we thought was true.
All right. Thought 3, the epidural. It is epidural, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Son-in-law Chris Cacciarelli is a character. At the height of Brooke's pain, before the epidural, they brought in a big dinner. She was in so much pain and she wasn't eating, and Chris sat next to her, observing and looking at her in pain and not missing a bite. She just shook her head. Then the epidural is applied, a long needle in the back. I mean, a really long needle. And this 6'3", 225-pound former football player at Missouri State was watching and nearly passed out. It brought comic relief to Brooke when she needed it. The epidural must be the best. Brooke is calling me, at Channel 5 all night. She says, "Dad, it is just awesome. It just takes the pain away. It is unbelievable." It sounded like Oxy to me, actually. And then when Monique was having Alex, I was buddies with her doctor, a really cool guy. And this was, again, right before the epidural at the height of her pain. And the doc and I made the mistake of discussing a sale at a Lexington men's clothier on Armani suits in front of her while she was in great pain. We were saying, hey, the ties are really good too. And there she was, and I swear to God, she gave us both the finger and told us to shut up. I've never seen my wife give me the finger, but bad idea to discuss anything but your wife's situation before the epidural.
All fair. I delivered one kid without an epidural, one kid with it. It was much better.
Why would you do it without it?
I don't know.
You're trying to be healthy? Or?
I guess. And then things moved along, and then it was too far, and I definitely changed my mind by kid number 2. But let me just say, there was nothing when I was in that pain. Whatever my husband was saying to me, it was not the right thing at that time. It's indescribable, the amount of pain that you're in at that point. And there's really nothing anybody can say that's going to make it better until you either deliver the baby or get the epidural, when there's some blessed relief in that. So last night I went to my first art film in a while. It's called Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight. It's a movie not on wide release, playing at the High Point, and it's based on the memoir by Alexandra Fuller, a book that I loved. I read about 15 years ago, and it's just now coming out as a movie now. The story is about this woman, real story, who's coming of age in Zimbabwe during the end of the Rhodesian War, mid-70s, early 80s. I had loved the book, and we read it in our book club because one of our book club members is about 10 years older than this author and grew up in Rhodesia/Zimbabwe. And it was so fascinating to read this memoir and then hear her live experiences from somebody who had very similar experiences as the author. So this same woman organized some of her friends and family, and so John and I went to the High Point to see it last night. Nice crowd of people there. The show has been critically acclaimed. Not a lighthearted film. War and politics and the politics of colonialism don't make for lighthearted films. But if you want to learn a little history, see an amazing performance by a child actor, probably the best I may have ever seen, who played the role of this 10-year-old growing up in complicated times. Really cool movie called Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight, playing at the High Point now.
And what would you give it on a 1 to 10?
I'd give it a 10. It was really compelling.
Boy. So you saw the John O'Leary movie there too?
Yep.
Back to back. What's the High Point like nowadays? It's been a long time since I've been there.
It's been perfectly preserved is how I would describe it. You still get that feeling of the great, mid-century turquoise and delicious popcorn popped in the old popper when you walk in. They've having challenges with air conditioning right now because it was damaged in the tornado, and so they're trying to raise some funds to be able to get that replaced. But last night, John O'Leary movie, it was a bit of an issue. We knew going in it was going to be hot because it was 97 degrees that day. Last night, temperatures were comfortable. They had fans running. It was just perfect, and nice crowd there as well.
All right, sounds good. We will take our second break. When we come back, Dr. Rick, get the questions in. Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126. Watch us on YouTube and Facebook.
And now, KTRS weather from the John Beal Roofing Weather Desk.
I don't see signs of an intense heat wave on the horizon, but I will tell you that temperatures and humidity will creep up in the coming days, getting us back to normal, maybe a little bit warmer than normal. We'll start today with a mix of clouds and sunshine, but mostly sunny skies expected this afternoon. 86 should do it for the high, just a slight chance of an isolated thunder shower from around noon until 8 p.m. Partly cloudy skies tonight, maybe a spot or two of fog, an overnight low on the mild side at 70, and this slow warming trend continues tomorrow. We're near 90 Wednesday afternoon with mostly sunny skies. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers for the Big 550 KTRS.
John Beal Roofing is the home of the lowest price roofing guarantee. Get a free estimate today at johnbealroofing.com.
Repairing chimneys, walkways, porches, foundations, entire homes, anything to do with brick or stone, you need a tuck pointer you can trust, and that, of course, is Morelli. Morelli is a family-run business started in 1991, and they're only as good as their last customer. That's why when you check out the reviews online at MorelliTuckPointing.com, you'll notice that they're actual customers who are singing the praises of Morelli. So if you need a tuck pointer, you need Morelli. 314-645-1387 or MorelliTuckPointing.com. Country Club Car Wash is the best car wash in town. How do I know? I have an unlimited monthly pass to Country Club Car Wash, and it's fantastic. They're touchless, and you get free vacuums at select locations. Each and every day on the morning show, we will be giving away one free Country Club Car Wash to the text of the day. And each week, we'll be giving away a grand prize, 1 month of free Country Club Car Washes to the text of the week. We'll see you on the show, and we'll see you at Country Club Car Wash, cccwstl.com.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Drury Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Drury Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Drury Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hey, it's Julie Buck for our friends at Triad Bank. They are a full-service financial institution, and they've been in St. Louis for over 20 years with 2 locations, one at Clayton and Lindbergh, and the other one just west of 270 on Olive. If you've got your own business and you want to have a better banking experience, look no further than Triad Bank. Their mission is to provide a wide range of commercial and personal banking services to you and your business. For more, go to triadbanking.com.
All right, welcome back. Saw Doc on Friday night at Lester's with his lovely trophy wife. Doc, good to be with you. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Frank?
Very good. Lots to discuss. Sugary drinks are the leading source of added sugars in the American diet. What's your reaction to all this?
Well, you know, I think one of the things that people don't realize is how much sugar fruit juice is. You know, Coke is obviously Coke, not Coke, but Coke, Sprite, etc. You know, all those drinks are just 200 calories, 210 calories, and we drink them like they're nothing. Fruit juice is 180 calories. And so I think these sugary drinks add tons of calories, and they're calories we don't normally count, right? So we look and we see how much our cheeseburger is or our fries are, but then all of a sudden we have 2 or 3 iced teas that are sweetened, and there's 500, 1,000 calories. So again, I think this is something everybody has to watch. And in the perfect world, what would we be drinking? We'd be drinking water. We would be drinking unsweetened teas. We'd be drinking things that don't have any calories in them that are equally as good or better for you and equally as hydrating without the calories. So, again, those are hidden calories. You got to be careful. And little kids drinking those little square boxes, don't give your kids those fruit juices. Those fruit juices are loaded with sugar.
Ah, good thoughts. So this article that you shared with us, fascinating, from a brain doctor traveling the world, and he says that he has come up with 2 secrets to protect against dementia, something that's kind of top of mind for so many of us. Tell us about that.
Well, this is interesting because hearing loss has always been thought to be, or in the beginning, people said, well, hearing loss leads to dementia. You're phased out, you're not engaged, you're not able to stimulate your brain, blah, blah, blah. You're not hearing, you're not involved in personal interaction, and that's a problem. And he found the same thing. Now, there was some question whether that's true or not, and I think recent studies have clearly shown that, if you have hearing loss, your incidence of dementia goes way up, and if you fix your hearing loss, i.e. hearing aids, your risk of dementia goes back to the baseline. So that's one of the biggest things. And I think that's extremely important. And I think the other thing, he talks about diet and talking about modest food choices, et cetera. And I don't think there's any question that diet, ultra-processed foods that cause hypertension, foods that are snacking and eating a bunch of stuff that has a ton of sugar or salt are very important. So, there's been a lot of studies, and these studies show that the less you eat, the longer you're going to live. And that works to a point. Obviously, if you're malnourished, et cetera, that doesn't really work. But that clearly works in terms of people that overeat. So I think that your food choices, natural foods, nuts, berries, et cetera, trying to limit ultra-processed foods, which in America is virtually impossible. Everyone out there is like, how am I going to avoid ultra-processed foods? And you can't avoid them, but you can try to cut down on them. I think those are the 2 big tickets.
Yeah, you weren't thinking about that when you were pounding down those wings on Friday night, were you?
No, I wasn't. And you know what? They were pretty good.
Yeah. Back to hearing loss for just a moment. Are we seeing more of it, or is it just being diagnosed more? I read some kind of stat the other day that nearly 2/3 of adults over 70 have some type of hearing loss, which seems like a staggering stat.
I don't think – I think it has gone way up. I think that has to do with all the visual and audio stimuli that we have. So that if you look at the numbers, the incidence has gone way up over the last 20 years. And I think that, people are living longer. And I think – so there's 2 things going on. I think younger people have more hearing loss. And I think older people are living longer, and everybody who gets older, or not everybody, but the majority of people as we get older have progressive hearing loss. So, what's the take-home message? Over the age of 50, you got to go get a hearing test. Mm-hmm. And if you have hearing loss, and you know what the biggest problem is? The biggest problem is the dilemma of, or the stigma, whatever you want to call it, of wearing hearing aids. No one wants to wear hearing aids, but there's nothing worse than having somebody, what'd you say? And they're leaning in and they can't hear you and they're not engaged in the conversation. And it's just as bad for them. So everybody out there who's 50, and your son or daughter says, hey, I think you're not hearing well, go get your hearing tested. And yes, there's a little bit of stigma to wearing hearing aids, but they have them now where they go in your ear, you can't even see the things. And I think it's going to change your world. I mean, I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think there is less and less stigma for Gen Xers to be able to do it. We all turned our Walkmans up way too high. Of course, my grandpa always claimed there was nothing wrong with his hearing. We were all just mumbling. So maybe that's the problem, is not people's hearing, but everybody else mumbling. Low-dose X-ray being used as a treatment for arthritis, plantar fasciitis, and some other conditions. That is interesting. Tell us more about that.
Well, there's no doubt. So shockwave, low-dose radiation, these are new treatment modalities, and basically – they decrease the inflammatory pattern or the response pattern for plantar fasciitis for sure, and mild to moderate arthritis. And basically what you're doing is the low, and it's important to be low doses. Higher dose radiation is unsafe. Low dose radiation, totally safe. And basically what you're treating the inflammatory response, and you're seeing a change in the genetic pattern. So for people that have plantar fasciitis, tennis elbow, patellar tendonitis, rotator cuff bursitis, etc. These inflammatory components, low-dose radiation, which is not new, but has come back on the scene pretty strong with these lower radiation type treatments. It used to be that the treatments were okay, they work, but they were probably not as safe, and they become very safe, just like x-rays have become more safe. So again, this is a great modality, and it's something you should look into if you have some of these problems, which, to be honest, as we get older, we all have these problems.
Toxic bedroom items you should ditch before they wreck your health. One of them is not like the Farrah Fawcett poster. Do I have to take that down or what?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how long's it been up there, right?
Yeah.
So, I think you have to think about the things in your house that have been sitting around forever, right? And if you think about it, what sits in your house? Well, your sheets, right? Your pillow. You should change your pillow, whatever. Wash your pillow cases and change your pillow probably every 2 years because they get allergens. And I think that's really important. I think that your sheets, checking your bed for mites, that's a big one. Your mattress, changing your mattress. They say every 7 to 10 years, but again, you should check your mattress for mites and for little organisms, which do happen, especially in hotel rooms. And then any place where you normally don't go. So areas in your bathroom that you normally don't go, where you're looking for different mites, bugs, etc. But the big thing, are synthetic air fresheners. Don't use those. Check your mattress, change your pillow, change your sheets. I think the one thing that we don't do enough is wash our sheets and change our sheets, and we should be doing that every week.
From a longtime listener, last question here in our last 30 seconds or a minute, Dr. Rick, who really likes the information you provide every week. Still playing golf 5 days a week, but has a subcapularis, I'm saying that wrong, tendon and dislocation of a long head biceps tendon, needs surgery. Prognosis?
Prognosis is excellent. So if you repair the subscapularis, you did a pretty good job, Jill, I'm not going to lie. And you what's called tenodesis to biceps, reattach the biceps, I would say you probably have a 95% chance of getting back pretty much full boat, certainly playing golf. So great surgery. Rehab's probably going to be 4 to 6 months, and it's not a simple rehab, but again, very, very, very successful.
One last thing. Our topic for today is what celebrity, maybe when you were younger, endorsed a product, or maybe it's now, that you would buy that product because of that person. I'm thinking as a young Dr. Rick, being a tennis star, you probably bought the T2000 Jimmy Connors racket, or what would it be for you?
Well, I had one of those, and I took care of Jimmy for a long time before he moved, and I will tell you that was a great racket. I would say that probably one of the biggest things were Michael Jordan shoes. When he came out, I was enamored with Michael Jordan, and I would say that that would be it.
Good stuff, Dr. Rick. We'll talk next week.
Take care.
Here's a quick text here. My girlfriend bought me Marky Mark's underwear because she hoped I would look like him wearing them.
Yeah, that was that may be the text of the day. That definitely made both of us chuckle. Very good stuff. Well, the travel agent of the day always is going to be Altair Travel here on the Frank and Jill Show, and that's because we trust things that have been around a long time and have delivered above and beyond excellent customer service to thousands and thousands of people for a very long time. Altair Travel is a check on both of those things. And just because they've been around for a long time doesn't mean they do things, quote, the old-fashioned way, other than excellent customer service. That part should never go out of style. But staying on top of the latest destinations, all of the ways that you can travel the world, travel our country, travel our region, and have the best trip possible, create the best memories with your family. Altair Travel and Cruises can do that as your trusted partner in this process. 314-968-9600, altairtravel.com.
Scott, remember when the Queen of Carpet and the Princess of Pile were flying around the arch selling flooring?
Andrea, that was the Queen of Carpet and the Princess of Tile.
Oh, that's right. But we don't need shtick here at Best Buy Flooring.
That's right, because our in-stock selection of carpet, carpet tile, sheet vinyl, laminate, hardwood, luxury vinyl plank, and luxury vinyl tile are already at low, low prices.
Come see us at our 3 area locations, North County, South County, and Metro East. Open 7 days a week.
Plus, free financing on approved credit. Best flooring, best selection, Best Buy Flooring.
At Maryville University, we power dreams, not just degrees. For nearly 150 years, we've empowered graduates to build successful careers. At Maryville, expect a rigorous, technology-driven, mentor-inspired education in a diverse and inclusive learning environment. We help you take it to the next level, no matter what field you choose. Now is the time to turn your ambition into action and transform your dream into reality. Start your journey at maryville.edu.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
I was always tired, with weekly bouts of indigestion. A friend asked me, when was the last time you did a detox? Never, I said. So she recommended Active Liver.
Our liver works hard every day to remove toxins from processed foods and unclean air and water. But too many toxins can overwhelm the liver, causing it to actually store toxins in our body fat. Low energy, brain fog, headaches, bloating, and skin irritation are all telltale signs that we need to act. Water or juice fasts can help, but often require days or weeks of feeling tired and sick. Thankfully, there's an easier way. Active Liver from New Nordic is a natural supplement that helps your liver effectively eliminate toxins on a daily basis, leaving you feeling better with more energy and less bloating.
Within a week of taking Active Liver, I was feeling better, and now I have more energy than I've had in years.
Available in both tablet or delicious gummies, you can find Active Liver online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com or in stores at your local CVS or Meijer grocery.
It's one of baseball's fiercest rivalries, the Cubs versus the Cardinals, and the action returns to Busch Stadium the weekend of August 8th through the 10th. Feel the heat, the history, and the excitement as these two legendary teams battle it out under the summer lights. 3 big games, 2 historic teams, 1 electric atmosphere you won't want to miss. Great seats remain. Secure yours today at Cardinals.com.
This is Wilson Contreras, St. Louis Cardinals, for the Lou.
Summer in St. Louis means one thing: Cardinals baseball. It's more than a game, it's an STL tradition. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the boom of the fireworks. It's the soundtrack to summer for Cardinals Nation. So grab your cap and glove and take your spot in the stands, because in St. Louis, baseball is more than a melody, it's our favorite song.
Ever wonder what the KTRS Air personalities look like?
Well, now you can.
Now streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. Sitting at home or at the office, you can now watch the Big 550 live. Just find the Big 550 KTRS on Facebook or 550 KTRS TV on YouTube. 2 ways you can see the hosts in all their on-air glory. We are live, local, and the talk of St. Louis. We are the Big 550 KTRS.
Depend on it.
Are you retired? Are you thinking about retiring? Who is helping you with retirement? Might be time to check out the show When Retirement Happens, hosted by Kevin Lloyd of Legacy Wealth Advisors. Saturday at 1, Sunday at noon on the Big 550 KTRS.
Everybody, wrapping up our first hour of the Frank and Jill Show. Joe Holloman coming in. He's been reporting on some cutting-edge stories. We're going to want to hear about what our elected officials are doing for us right now. Some fun stories worth talking about in just a little while. Frank, inquiring minds want to know. They tuned in a little bit late. You've touched on it. Daughter Brooke is about to become a mom. Hasn't happened yet, but she's in labor as we speak.
Yes, just got a text from Chris, said that it's slow, steady progress.
That's often how it is for number one.
Yeah, I can't imagine though, like over 24 hours. But yours was too.
Yeah. I did not. Mine wasn't one of the quick ones. I did work with the producer, who's a dear friend of mine. Unfortunately, no longer with us, but she was just an incredible friend. And at Fox 2, and her first baby, she delivered essentially in the elevator at Barnes. Got in there, first child. They're like, no hurry. Usually the first one takes a little more time.
Oh my
Getting
God.
it checked and everything. And she says, something's happening. They checked her and said, oh, and got her, and before they could even get her into a room, the baby came. Second time, she's at the station. She comes and taps me on the back and says, I'm going to drive to the hospital. She was at full term. I'm feeling like something's happening. And I said, no, you're not. I'm driving you. Somebody else can do the noon news. I turn around. She's gone, drove herself there, and delivered the baby. I'm not lying. 22 minutes after she walked in the door.
So this woman back to back.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Some people just have their babies more quickly than other people do. But once you have the first one fast, they usually tell you don't mess around. Let's get here early or try to induce. But, sometimes Mother Nature has its own agenda.
It would have been cool if they would have had the baby yesterday because this is the day they got officially engaged.
Oh.
So.
Well, my incredible mother was born 84 years ago today. One of the finest humans to ever live. I've incredible teacher, incredible caring person, would give you literally the shirt off her back if she met you, if she said was there. So I happen to think it's a pretty incredible day to have been born. So
is she listening today? Or no?
I don't know if she is or not. She had some doctor's appointments. My sister's in town from Colorado, getting to spend some special birthday time with her. So I hope they're out doing something fun.
That's great. Let's see what else.
Let's talk just a minute. Well, we've got a second here. You brought up the topic yesterday, and it was a very widespread topic about the MAGA hat at the stadium. Did you hear anything else or read anything else that furthered the conversation? I heard a couple things that I thought were interesting yesterday.
Like what jumped out at you?
Well, just reading some of the dialogue and the online. There were several people apparently who went to the stadium the day of the No More Kings rally downtown, which of course was an anti-President Trump rally. And everybody there, according to witnesses who did this, who had those shirts, were asked to either remove them, wear them inside out so you couldn't see the writing, or they would need to leave. And in that group, everybody did comply. And the person who had the MAGA hat on was given the option to take the hat off, and that's the reason he was escorted out, is because he decided not to do that. So people did say, to our point yesterday, you and I both doubted whether somebody, would have been confronted if they had, for instance, a Biden hat on. I think, to that point, apparently they were previously.
Yeah. And, in city's defense, if there are MLS rules in place, now on the surface, you think, should a guy be allowed to wear a hat? Yeah. But if there are rules in their charter that says that's not allowed, then it's not allowed.
And a couple people pointed out to me yesterday, I'm not, especially that it came from other countries, they said, we think in the United States of soccer of being a very tame and mild-mannered and maybe less, something that's less likely to incite big emotions compared to football or other sports. But in Europe and in much of the other parts of the world, people are so into soccer that violence and things that inspire conflict are really common. And so some of the behavior rules are based on those things happening in other parts of the world. Do you think that's fair? Or do you think that's an overreaction?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple other quick texts. Frank started wearing pantyhose because of Joe Namath. Honestly, don't see older celebrities, i.e. Joe Namath, selling stuff like the memory of their younger selves, and sometimes wonder if they're in financial trouble and need cash. No, I think it's probably an easy payday for Joe Namath. Does he do hearing aids now? I don't know.
He does some kind of insurance, I thought.
Insurance, okay.
Reverse mortgages.
Reverse mortgage, okay. And then there's William Devane doing the gold.
Yeah.
Now, would that make you buy gold if it's William Devane? I don't know.
No, I mean, I guess a totally different subject, but I've always questioned, how much money is somebody willing to pay for an endorsement about a product that's a little questionable? That's, I guess, where my criticism comes in as the old consumer reporter, is when I see people that I respected as an actor or a
Can you think of an example? I'm sure there's some. But...
Yeah, I mean, some of the questionable, invest in that gold kind of stuff, or here's the latest and, and greatest kind of scammy sort of stuff that you would see in late night television. Sometimes there were famous people or famous athletes or famous actors that were endorsing that. And I thought, they're taking the paycheck, but they're setting aside some of their integrity and being willing to do that.
Yeah, and you also have to wonder if that famous person is actually utilizing the product. Like, we got a kick out of it. Is Tiger Woods, was he really driving a Buick for all those years? Now, I will say this, when 9/11 happened, he was at Belle Reve. We saw him actually get into a Buick and leave the tournament.
Well, those are ironclad contracts traditionally. If you say you're endorsing the product, you cannot. And like if you say you're using a Samsung and you are seen with an iPhone in public and it's shot, you lose. You actually pay a fine and you lose often.
But with a car, I mean, wouldn't Tiger also be allowed to have a Benz and a Bentley in his garage? You tell me that he signs his contract with Buick and they say you can't drive any other cars?
You can't be seen ever in another car that isn't our product is generally how they write those contracts because of exactly what you said.
I just can't picture Tiger driving the Enclave 100% of the time. But
I don't know.
Maybe you're right.
Maybe so. Hey, lots more coming up in our second hour, so stick around. Frank and Jill Show. We'll be back after the news.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The University of Missouri St. Louis is committed to providing top-ranked education. More than 80% of our students receive financial aid. At UMSL, more is what moves us. Find your more and explore your financial aid options at more.umsl.edu.
This is the Big 550. KTRS St. Louis. From O'Fallon, Illinois to Granite City, Lynn Carbon to Waterloo, and the world.
Streaming live at
From
KTRS.com.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The GOP-led House Oversight Committee investigating the Jeffrey Epstein files has issued subpoenas to answer questions. It comes as President Trump and the Justice Department are facing pressure to release the full files.
The House Oversight Chair says in addition to demanding the Epstein files from the Justice Department, his committee has issued subpoenas to Bill and Hillary Clinton, former FBI Directors James Comey and Robert Mueller, and 6 of the last 7 attorneys general. Letters from the chairman say the Clintons have been subpoenaed because the former president repeatedly flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, and the former Secretary of State is not only married to Bill Clinton, she also oversaw efforts to combat international sex trafficking.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy. The Texas House will try to reconvene again for a special session to vote on redistricting maps that will give the GOP 5 new seats. But Democrats, many who left the state protesting the redrawn maps, may not show.
This isn't the first time that Texas Democrats have broken quorum over a congressional district map drawn up between the 10-year census. In 2003, they fled to Ardmore, Oklahoma.
Yeah, it was worth it,
says then State Representative Jim Dunham. The Democrats did eventually return to Austin and voted against the 2003 map, but the Republicans won. Now, as then, the absent lawmakers face a threat of arrest. Dunham says,
Well, I actually have my arrest warrant on my wall.
As a symbol of pride in a quorum break that eventually failed. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
The manhunt for a Tennessee man accused of killing 3 adults and a teen last week has been caught. Police say Austin Drummond was taken into custody Sunday. Residents in Jackson were given a shelter-in-place order after home security video showed video of a man with a rifle trying to open doors of homes. The death certificate for Ozzy Osbourne showing the heavy metal and reality star died last month of a heart attack. The certificate also shows he suffered from coronary artery disease and Parkinson's disease. You're listening to ABC News.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. Stroke risk may increase. Eliquis can cause serious and potentially fatal bleeding. Don't take if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or bleed longer. A spinal injection increases blood clot risk, which may cause paralysis. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or bruising, or back pain, tingling, numbness, muscle weakness, or incontinence. Aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
80 degrees at 11:03 with KTRS News. I'm Steve Potter. Communities across the St. Louis area will be hosting national night out events tonight. Among those are in Breckenridge Hills, which will be held at Perry Hopkins Park, and University City at Centennial Commons. In East St. Louis, it will be held at 8206 State Street. The city of St. Louis will hold its National Night Out event on October the 7th. An investigation is underway after 3 vehicle fires overnight in Clayton. Firefighters were called early this morning to the 7500 block of Westmoreland, where 3 vehicles were engulfed in flames. St. Louis homes located near the severe damage from the May 16th tornado could see significant declines in value. That's according to a report from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, which states that those homes could see a 36% drop. Legislation sponsored by Metro East State Senator Erica Harris has been signed into law after passing in the 2025 spring legislative session. Senate Bill 2463, developed in partnership with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, addresses the costly problem of abandoned oil wells. The law ensures that oil well operators and not taxpayers are financially responsible for properly closing and cleaning sites once drilling operations have ceased. Harris says taxpayers shouldn't be footing the bill when operators walk away from their obligations. Illinois has a new law aimed at limiting AI therapy.
Governor J.B. Pritzker signed legislation that protects patients by limiting the use of artificial intelligence in therapy and psychotherapy services. The Wellness and Oversight for Psychological Resources Act prohibits anyone from using AI to provide mental health and therapeutic decision-making, while allowing the use of AI for administrative and support services. With this new law, the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation will have the authority to investigate all suspected violations of the act. Jill Enders, KTRS News.
It can be easy to be skeptical of people who show up at your front door, but as we hear in this report, there's a reason you'll want to for crews from Missouri American Water.
American Water is working to replace all lead or galvanized pipelines to homes before 2030. And in order to do that, they have to test what service lines residents have. So that has workers going door to door to over 200,000 homes where the service material is unknown. According to American Water, lead service lines are more likely to be used in homes built before the 1930s, and exposure to lead in drinking water can cause behavioral issues in children and risks of high blood pressure, kidney damage, and heart disease in adults. American Water says they will send letters to customers, have a Missouri American Water magnet on their car, and crews will be wearing badges. Information on the lead check program can be found on the American Water website at amwater.com. Sobe Bay, KTRS News.
This KTRS Business Minute brought to you by Walter Knoll Florist, the place for all your floral needs. You can place your order anytime at WKF.com. In the markets, the Dow is down 95 points at 44,079, NASDAQ down 133 at 20,919, and the S&P 500 down 30 at 6,299. In sports, Mizzou football has sold out its season ticket allotment for the 2025 season. Single game tickets still remain, including for the opener on Thursday, August 28th against Central Arkansas. The Tigers' current sellout streak sits at 14 games. And yesterday, the Cards beat the Dodgers 3-2. They face off again tonight. Our forecast, a 20% chance for some isolated showers after 4 o'clock this afternoon. Otherwise, look for a high of near 86. Partly cloudy tonight, an overnight low around 69, then mostly sunny tomorrow with a high near 90. At 7 minutes past 11 o'clock, partly cloudy, 80 degrees at the Gold Tower at Westport. Steve Potter, KTRS News, the talk of St. Louis.
All right, we are back. Frank and Jill Show on the Big 550 KTRS, Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126. You can watch us on YouTube and Facebook. Joe Holloman joins us every Tuesday. Joe, good to be with you. How are you?
What's going on, guys? I'm doing well. How about you?
Everything's good. Before we get to the serious stuff, want to get a quick thought. Was there ever an advertiser or a famous person, because we're talking about Sydney Sweeney, her impact, Dylan Mulvaney, his impact. Was there ever a person, maybe when you were growing up, maybe when you were a little younger, that this person was endorsing this product and you thought, man, I really think this person is cool. I'm going to buy it. Anybody jump out at you? Dr. Rick just said Michael Jordan and the Air Jordan shoes. I said Greg Norman and the cool shark shirts. What would it have been for a young Joe Holloman at one time?
I'm going to go back before that and mention a name that most people just, there's a cringe as soon as I mention it, but it was Bill Cosby for Jell-O.
Oh.
I mean, I got to say, when I was a kid, every year I bought the Bill Cosby album. Remember, once a year they would put out the comedy albums, and I just thought he was the funniest guy on the face of the earth, bar none. And I remember I wasn't a big fan of Jell-O and Puddin' Pops, but I gave him a whole second chance when I thought, no, if he does it, maybe they are pretty good. Maybe I'm missing the boat here. So
good stuff.
That would be the one that jumped into my mind.
Yeah.
No, the shark shirts, I'll say, was, I may want one of those, because Greg Norman was cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
It all boils down to who you think is cool.
Yeah, exactly. And also, Bill Cosby went the way of Jared from Subway in terms of endorsers gone bad, in terms of not necessarily positively impacting your
Howie
brand.
Long is like the coolest cat on the planet. And some people have a negative perception of Skechers. But when he started doing Skechers, along with Joe Montana, like
And
they got
Martha
some cool
Stewart.
people. Yeah, Martha Stewart. I think that would make some people, especially men, when they see Howie Long's wearing Skechers. So, I don't know.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned one of the guys. When it comes to the cool list, Joe Montana's way high.
Yeah,
in the cool Hall of Fame. I mean, the old story about, hey, John Candy's over there. When they're driving for a winning touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just those folks who are cool, which I probably would say, but of course he never had to. But had Jack Nicholson ever endorsed something? Because I think he was a guy that, at least for my generation, when somebody go, who's cool, it'd be like, Jack's cool.
For sure.
Yeah. Well said. Hey, you're cool. You broke some big news this weekend. Darlene Green still getting a paycheck from City Hall, even though she's supposed to be retired. Tell us about this story, what it potentially means, and what do we know now?
Yeah, it's a knot still being untied. So if when I'm done saying all this, you go, what did he say? I apologize ahead of time. But what happened was unbeknownst to anybody in the budget division of the city, Darlene Green got added back on, it appears, as her old job as budget director. She lost the comptroller's race. So on April 15th, Donna Behringer was sworn in. Darlene Green leaves office. Now, a longtime employee, both as a comptroller, and she worked for several years as budget director, had pension coming. Well, apparently somewhere in the process, and that's what we're trying to work with, and so far the personnel department has not returned any phone calls or issued any statements as to what has happened. Seems to have been returned to the city's payroll, and then lo and behold, in July, 2 times in July, the two pay periods that basically covered July, which was like July 16th or 18th, and then August 1st. Ms. Green got checks for about $6,500.
Wow.
She didn't get them. They weren't direct deposited. So Ms. Green didn't receive any of that money, but they were issued. They were cut and issued, and were in the Treasurer's Department. And the Treasurer's Department notified the Budget Department saying, hey, there's a check up here for Darlene Green. You need to come get it, and get it out of our mail, and it's yours. And they're like, what do you mean? Darlene Green doesn't work here. She hasn't been here since 1995, so 30 years. So they went and got the check, tried to look into it, and found that, lo and behold, she's getting paid. And not only was she getting paid, she was getting paid more than the current budget director. And all I did, which is what happens a lot in City Hall, we went through this a little while ago where I just asked for some information. I said, hey, what happened? And you figure, okay, it could be a clerical error. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities, and I don't want to speculate as to what any of them are. But somewhere in the city, there should have been someone who could look in a record and go, here's what happened. Here's the problem. No, haven't gotten any of that. So the fact that the comptroller's office, the new comptroller, Donna Behringer, started looking into it, and apparently is, from what she has said, is sort of run into the same thing I have, is that the personnel department is not being quick with giving information out as to what happened. I mean, the stories do not say that Darlene Green cashed money that she shouldn't have gotten. And one theory running around is it could have been where she was added to the payroll so that she could start drawing a pension, to which is 30 years of comptroller and a couple of years in the budget department. She certainly paid into the city retirement system and is due a payment, but they activated her, but then no one deactivated her. So there's all kinds of theories as to what happened. Problem is either no one knows, which is scary, or they do know and they don't want to say, which is probably scarier still. And that's what myself and a lot of other reporters run into when it comes to politics is, and I'll say it yet again, the more politicians talk about transparency, the less transparent they are.
Some forensic accounting is needed here for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in an editorial in our paper, which I have nothing to do with the editorials, those are written with no advice and consent from me, said, we need to look. This is because it's Darlene Green as a comptroller. So it comes up and you say, hey, she left office on April 15th, but then she's getting paid as a budget director. What gives? And that's a real simple question. But then all of a sudden it seems like any governmental entity, when you start asking, hey, how did that money get spent there? They circle the wagons. And only because it was the comptroller, one of the most powerful positions in city government, arguably second only to the mayor, it drew attention. Are there other employees who checks are being issued? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, and that's where the Department of Personnel, that's why I'm calling them on a regular basis, and the director apparently did not have cell phone service last week, was on vacation, and couldn't issue a statement. Then yesterday I called for a statement, nothing then, and I will be calling again today trying to get a statement from, how about you just tell the readers, the citizens, the residents of St. Louis what happened. And that's all we're really trying to do is just find out how is it that about $13,000 of checks were cut for someone who most people believe quit their city employment when they left office on April 15th.
All right. Senator Josh Hawley in the news again with his tax credit for working Americans, $600 per person. So family of four gets $2,400. Doesn't exactly balance the budget, but he's got a great quote. I gave it to the Post-Dispatch, maybe gave it to you specifically. Republicans are going to get their butts kicked in this midterm pretty soon because the stuff they've been doing is unpopular. Reaction on all this?
I think it's Josh Hawley has a plan. And he gave that to a news site called Semaphore, made up of some old not old journalists, but journalists who had worked at other places. And it's something that he has said to me before, back when he was in town earlier this year, who was basically that what the Republicans need to do, and what he means not Republicans out on the streets, Republicans in the legislature, need to realize that the people who are voting for them are working class Americans, the people who used to vote Democrat, the blue collar, the working man, whatever name you want to put on that, middle America. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones voting for Republicans, and they need to lose this sort of idea of being the country club party, which for decades was kind of how it was assigned. And he's saying there needs to be a change of thinking, and that when you sit and you talk about cutting Medicaid, or when he put up a bill that said people in the legislature, and it made it through committee, but it's going to have a rough go, the people in the House and the Senate should not be able to make money on stocks and investments because on certain things because they have so much insider information. And, of course, that's running into a heap of opposition also from his party. And he's basically, his position is Republicans have to stop and realize who it is and how it is that Donald Trump got 70 million votes. And sort of recognize that it's really not about Donald Trump. It's about who are the folks out there who don't feel they're being represented. And that it always, let's say the middle class, the working class always said, well, it's the Democrats. They're the ones looking out for our interest. And as Josh Hawley has pointed out in other interviews, both with the Post, he said the Democratic Party is getting this idea that they're more concerned with trans athletes. And these are the kind of issues, these woke progressive issues that are driving the bus of the Democratic Party. Here's the opportunity for the Republicans to strike and sort of claim this group of people. And I think what happens here is Hawley is not only trying to Hawley's trying to run a middle road here. He's certainly not a Democrat, and he supports Donald Trump. But I also think he's staying far enough away from that Trump can do no wrong category, though you'll never hear him say that. But I think it also sets him up for when J.D. Vance becomes the leading candidate because he's the vice president 4 years from now, that Hawley will have some distance from that camp as well, still being a Republican, but not, for the lack of a better word, a super MAGA Republican.
Well, something everybody can agree on, Joe, is the fact that our mail service seems to be deteriorating and deteriorating. We've talked about it a bit before. I just got a letter that was sent 6 weeks ago, and it was correctly addressed. That just showed up, and I had no explanation. I don't know where it was hiding all this time. But something that we used to take so for granted is just how reliable, of course, mail service is. Not there anymore. Our congressional representatives in Washington keep saying they're ready to make a change on this. How can they do it, and what are they saying is going to happen?
Well, I mean, it's government, which is the world's largest aircraft carrier, and it takes forever to turn around. Mm-hmm. I mean, so right now we've got the point, I would guess at the point, there's a special committee, a caucus in the House now, Republicans and Democrats, that are trying to take a look at what can be done with the mail service. It spends billions of dollars. It has its own budget. And for years, as you said, it pointed out correctly, Jill, nobody really cared about the cost because there was always the wonderful reassurance that I go to a post office box, I go to a mailbox on the corner today, mail a letter to Ohio, and in 2-3 days it ends up at the correct address in Ohio. Mm-hmm. Now it could be weeks. So we never cared really about the cost because it was so dependable and, rain nor sleet nor gloom of night. And now it just seems like some days, the mail just doesn't show up. It's like, nobody came down the street that day. I had a friend one time who didn't get mail for a week and said he went to check with the post office, and they said, "Oh, you're on an overtime route." He said, what does that mean? And he said, "Oh, well, when people volunteer to work overtime, that's when we run your route. And usually we have people working overtime, so it's not a problem, but recently we haven't." And he said, "Well, what can I do?" And she goes, "Well, you can always come up here and pick up your mail." So it was like returning to the 1910s, stop by the general store, get some feed, then run by the post office to pick up your parcels. So, I mean, you're not dissatisfied with the cost as long as the service is there and you can always depend on it. It's the reason why people don't complain a lot about sewer bills. Because if you're flushing the toilet and everything's going away, you're good, But once that stops, now you really want to look at the cost. And I think that's where we're at. People are saying your promise of this consistent, dependable, maybe a little slow, maybe a little outdated, but we can count on it. So, okay, we don't care what it costs. Well, now people do. So, and it's true what you mentioned, Republicans, Democrats, senators, congressmen, people, legislators who represent urban areas, rural areas, they all have a problem with it. There's nobody saying, it's stellar in my neighborhood. So one would hope things would change, but I never believe government will change anything until they actually do it.
Joe, good stuff. We'll talk next week. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, guys. See ya.
Joe Holloman, Post-Dispatch, joining us on the Frank and Jill Show.
Yeah, we do appreciate reliability and really like being able to trust people and know that they're going to show up in an emergency, no matter what the conditions are, or just for good, standard, great customer service where they show up when they tell you they're going to. They communicate about what they're doing. Premier Heating and Cooling, check, check, check. Again, all those boxes. They absolutely put their customer service first, and they treat their employees so well that they have longtime employees, especially and well-trained in the changing technology of what's happening in the heating and cooling industry out there. Somebody who did the job 30 years ago, it's a different one today, and you need people that can adapt and understand and be able to service all kinds of different units that deliver all kinds of different amenities and keep you comfortable in your home and make sure that you maintain your home's value for the long term. And that's what you can count on from our friends at Premier Heating Cooling. Check them out at premierheatingcooling.net or give them a call, 636-916-1122.
Hear that? That's what having fewer hot flashes and night sweats can sound like. Veoza is the #1 prescribed hormone-free treatment FDA approved for moderate to severe vasomotor symptoms, also known as hot flashes and night sweats, due to menopause. Veoza can cause serious side effects, including liver problems. Your doctor will do blood tests before and during treatment. Stop Veoza and call your doctor if you have symptoms of liver problems, such as feeling more tired than usual, decreased appetite, nausea, vomiting, itching, yellowing of the eyes or skin, pale stool, dark urine, or stomach pain. Don't use Veoza if you have cirrhosis, severe kidney problems, kidney failure, or take CYP1A2 inhibitors. Ask your doctor about Veoza. To learn more, call 1-866-239-1637 or go to Veoza.com. That's VEOZAH.com.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
Seems like back to school happens earlier each year.
First day of school coming in hot.
And this year, my kids had massive supply lists.
Folders, notebooks, and pens. Oh, the humanity.
But Staples had everything I needed, with some items just 25 cents.
Watch the small print.
No. My back to school budget was saved by Staples Easy Button.
Everything for school, in stock and as low as 25 cents. Staples.
That was easy.
In store, online, and on the app. NC 23 while supplies last.
Do you know why right now is the absolute best time to book your new patio or deck with my friends at Outdoor Living? Aside from being the best in town, these guys are really smart. They pay attention to market conditions, and they've stocked up on patio and deck supplies, including steel, all before these tariffs kicked in. So while their competitors' pricing has gone through the roof, prices have never been better at Outdoor Living. Now is the best time to call and book your summer job. Not to mention, these same competitors have sold out to large conglomerates and hedge funds. Pat Leahy and his team remain locally owned and operated, providing the best pricing and the best service in town. So, looking for a new deck or a new fence or anything outdoor? Outdoor Living, 314-966-DECK. That's 314-966-DECK. Or check them out online, Outdoor Living Inc., or check out their great showroom, Big Bend and I-44 in Kirkwood, OutdoorLivingInc.com.
When it comes to summer comfort, your air conditioner should never be a question. Hi, Farmer Dave here for Viviano Heating and Air. They offer reliable AC installation, fast repairs, and seasonal tune-ups to keep your system running like new. We work with nearly every brand, so no matter what you've got, we've got you covered. Stay cool and in control. Call today, 618-345-7498, or visit them online at vivianoair.com. Train, the most reliable name in heating and cooling around. It's hard to stop a train.
I'm Bob Hardcastle. Listen to my Money Talk radio program every Sunday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. on the Big 550, where we discuss your money in an easy-to-understand manner. We have interesting guests, chat about money. We try to help you feel more comfortable with your money by talking about the investment market. Join me. I'm Bob Hardcastle.
Money Talk, Sunday morning at 8 on the Big 550 KTRS.
It's time to celebrate summer the Southern Illinois way at the DeCoin State Fair from August 22nd through Labor Day. Enjoy thrilling rides, toe-tapping concerts, sizzling fair food, and good old-fashioned fun for the whole family. Catch professional wrestling, blue ribbon bake-offs, and meet your favorite farm animals. Whether you're here for the car show or corn dogs, DeCoin's got the magic. So pack up the family. Adventure awaits at the DeCoin State Fair.
The Bommarito Automotive Group is Missouri's #1 automotive group. They've sold over 1 million vehicles by giving you a better price, a better selection, and more for your trade. You can shop them online. Check out their website anytime at bommarito.com.
Want a song?
Surround my mind like the sun on the radio.
Want a quote? It's the song and quote of the day on the Frank and Jill Show. Right here on the Big 550 KTRS.
Really glad you're with us. Second hour of the Frank and Jill Show. Jill Farmer, Frank Cusimano, Connor McCarthy here on a Tuesday morning. Always great to have you along with us as well. You're the most important part of the show, of course, hands down. Okay, I know you've told me this before, but I'm forgetting. Your first car was... Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Wait a minute. No, my first cool car was a Mazda RX-7. I drove like family cars. And
so when you turned 16, what were you driving around
my
in?
mom's station wagon that we'd pick up produce in. Mm-hmm. And then...
So you just don't want that to be the answer.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't my car. So I think the first legitimate car I had was that Mazda RX-7 bought by the great people at Bomarito there. Yeah, red one. It was...
But when you first got your license and you're driving your friends around, was it an 8-track player? Did you have a cassette in there? Was it just the radio?
God, since I was driving my mom's wagon, it was just a radio.
Yes. Okay. So when you're 16, around this time, Foreigner was out with their big hit, just hit the scene. They were a British band, and this was their big hit. Listen to it and see if it was one of the things that you were playing in the station wagon when you could crank it. And,
yeah, definitely.
And do you remember in the early 80s, and so it would have been as you're moving into college, how big Foreigner 4 was as an album?
I do not. But that song you just played, I mean, who doesn't like that song?
I think that would have ended up being their number one hit. But I remember in the early 80s, that was a cool album to go get. Foreigner, Journey, that whole era of music at that time had a really wide appeal. You didn't have to be a super hard rocker to really like them. And many would say, I'm reading a little bit about it today, that they ushered in the sort of mega bands like Bon Jovi, where you didn't have to, again, just be in a certain class of super hard rockers. Because if you were like a hard rocking Ozzy Osbourne fan earlier in the 70s, you weren't necessarily crossing over in the same way that these bands kind of carried over to everybody.
Yeah. Boy, they were good. That's a good song.
Yeah, really good. And I'd forgotten that they were from Great Britain because, you know, we certainly claimed them in America for sure. Quote of the day is a soundbite that an interview I came across with Bill Murray, and I always thought he's an interesting guy to listen to in interviews because
when he's engaged, sometimes he's not engaged.
Yeah,
he disappoints me.
He's kind of got a little bit of a dude. Yeah, I think you're exactly right about that. And he, you know, isn't somebody that shows up a lot. He's not like a Steve Martin where he's out there a lot showing gratitude for this great career. But when you do listen to him talk in interviews, he sometimes is surprising if you want to compare him to a lot of the roles that he's played. And
what was this on?
This, I don't have to look at it again, who the interview was with, but
it was Stern.
Stern, thank you. He talks about in this interview, of course, Howard Stern asked the greatest questions, really, in a lot of ways, on what it was like to lose the Oscar to Sean Penn when he was, you wouldn't have considered probably Bill Murray as an Oscar contender back in the Caddyshack days, but I thought his response was interesting. Yeah, I thought that was interesting, right? That he thought he was sort of above the Hollywood winning accolades makes you a better human, and he said it took losing for him to realize that he, to use his term, was infected by that same sort of ego-driven wanting the accolades and the wins.
Yeah, and when he lost to Sean Penn won it for Mystic River, which was really good, and Sean Penn was unbelievable.
Yeah, he really was. And we've talked about it a million times before, and Connor has said it probably more articulately than I can, but so much credence is given to things like the Oscars, but it's so darn subjective that I think it's healthy to not give it too much credit for your value as an actor, and especially, in years like that where you're up against a Sean Penn, and he was great in Lost in Translation. I don't know who was better. That's a very subjective decision, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, and like he said, he did win a BAFTA and a Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Motion Picture for Lost in Translation. Yeah, that's tough because he's at a stage in his life where he's probably not going to win it, and if you're an actor, that's the award to win. So, yeah, that just stinks. I couldn't imagine him thinking he was going to win. He was there that night, and then that's why you should never think you're going to win, don't you think?
Oh gosh, yes. But how could you not? I mean, wouldn't that require a superhuman dissolving of your ego to be up for something that is so lauded as the pinnacle of your career, and to somehow just completely disengage yourself from caring whether you won or not? I mean, it's great.
Well,
I think it'd be a great goal.
Disengage from you're caring. I mean, you care, but I always think the better approach is either don't think about it or just not think you're going to win, and things work out better. I mean, that's a superstitious and kind of childish, but I think that just works out. That's why some of these athletes, that we want them to show some bravado that, I know I can do it. This is my time. Nobody does that because they don't want that overconfidence trait, or they don't want to be burned later on. So few athletes have that bravado that guarantees wins. And that's why, those guys become legends.
But they probably all think that, right? No one goes into a game thinking, well, I don't really care if I win or lose this, or at least not good athletes, or I don't think I'm going to win this. You can't think that, otherwise you're not going to win.
Yeah, it's one thing thinking it, but it's another like trying not to voice it and to just have that humility gene. I mean, how many athletes, like besides Joe Namath and Larry Bird and Michael Jordan and Ali, are like that? I know I'm going to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a couple people saying, I don't think that Feels Like the First Time was Foreigner's number one hit on the text line. And often you guys are much better at being music aficionados, certainly, than I am. But according to Billboard, yes, Feels Like the First Time, Hot Blooded, and I Want to Know What Love Is were all number one, but Feels Like the First Time was the one that was on for the longest. If you believe the internet, that's what it's telling us. But all number one hits for them.
I just got a text. Didn't your dad buy you a car? Yeah, it was the RX-7 because I got free college. He paid for the other 5 going to college, and he said okay. And then he gave me the check. I think it was $7,000, and I went to Bommarito with my college money. And then I told the story, I think, where the salesman said, "No, you can't. We're not going to do this." It was a used car, and I said, and my dad always said, "Make sure you walk out when he says no. Just walk out the door." I said, "Dad, I don't want to walk." "No, you walk out." I remember walking out. He said, "All right, hold on a second." And then he eventually took the check.
So you wouldn't declare yourself this, but other people have noted you're a pretty darn good negotiator. Do you think that's where that skill started?
Yeah, listening to my dad, that's where it started.
Yeah, that's good advice. Connor, what was the first car you drove?
It was a Ford Escape. It was this kind of dark green color. I'm only on my second car. Both of them have lasted pretty long.
How many miles you got on this one?
This one, I'm crossing the 80,000 miles mark. I actually got a really great deal right in the middle of COVID to hit a low miles. So had that one since 2020.
First car?
Well, I didn't. The first car that I drove was our family van or a 1976 Buick LeSabre that was about 11 years old at the time. Large frontal crush area, as I've told you guys. So there was a safety aspect. There was a zero cool factor in either of those. And then
a bench in front. It was a bench seat. It wasn't bucket seats.
That's exactly right. Yeah. As a matter of fact, when it was my grandparents' car, which is who owned it originally before they gave it to my mom, who then would occasionally let me drive it when the van wasn't available. When we were little kids, we would, of course, just sit in the middle in the front seat with Grandma and Grandpa tooling around town. No seatbelts on or anything.
Yeah.
My parents made us wear seatbelts, but that was a fun part. And even remember there was an armrest, and they'd even put the little kid on the armrest in the middle. So you'd really be a good projectile out the front window if you stopped suddenly. But
well, how about the station wagon where in the third row, the seats would be facing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we go on long family trips in the station wagon, and then you just make a bed back there, and the kids are just sleeping back there, and you just hope you don't have to stop too suddenly. But that's that was life in the 70s, my friends, and we all have lived to tell the tale of it, I guess, at this point. My first car that I bought was my grandfather's Chevy Citation in college when I was getting ready to start my first job at a TV station, and I paid $1,000 hard-earned dollars to Grandpa Lingwall for that car. And
there was nothing sexy about the Chevy Citation.
There was not, but I actually sold it to a coworker friend of mine years later, after I'd driven the heck out of it, for $500. So it was a pretty good deal.
I drove to Daytona Beach in a Chevy Citation.
Didn't you find the hatchback easy to put the cooler in back there?
What an unappealing looking car. God, was that ugly.
Was it the metallic tan like mine was? That really looked great.
Great, like a pewter silver. It was just hideous.
Yes, it's a polished something, a name we won't say on the radio for sure. But one thing that we do like to say on the radio often is that it's great to have a delicious lunch to look forward to at this time of the day. It's one of our favorite parts of working right before the lunch hour is we get to think about what we're having for lunch, and we get to advise you on a great idea for lunch. And 3 Bay Barbecue and Bakery is always going to be number one recommendation. We know that you're going to get delicious food, delicious barbecue, often delivered in a really unique and fun way. They get so creative with their specials. They get so creative with their items on the menu. They take so much care and quality control in making sure that everything they serve up is absolutely tantalizing and mouth-watering every single time. And it's 3 Bay Barbecue and Bakery for a reason. They take those delicious bakery items, and again, always fun, always different, always interesting. They take it extremely seriously. Stop by, grab some lunch on the go, or take lunch to your friends at work, take a friend over and pop and eat lunch there today, or have them cater your next event. 3 Bay Barbecue and Bakery, located in the Phillips 66 station at Clayton Road and 141, where the service bays used to be. Stop by and tell them we sent you.
And now, KTRS weather from the John Beal Roofing Weather Desk.
I don't see signs of an intense heat wave on the horizon, but I will tell you that temperatures and humidity will creep up in the coming days, getting us back to normal, maybe a little bit warmer than normal. We'll start today with a mix of clouds and sunshine, but mostly sunny skies expected this afternoon. 86 should do it for the high, just a slight chance of an isolated thunder shower from around noon until 8 p.m. Partly cloudy skies tonight, maybe a spot or two of fog, an overnight low on the mild side at 70, and this slow warming trend continues tomorrow. We're near 90 Wednesday afternoon with mostly sunny skies. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers for the Big 550 KTRS.
John Beal Roofing is the home of the lowest price roofing guarantee. Get a free estimate today at johnbealroofing.com.
Elevate your home with stunning lighting from Metro Lighting.
Shopping for a gorgeous chandelier for your dining room?
Need a new table lamp?
Or lighting your entire dream home?
Our certified lighting specialists are here to help.
Locally owned with 6 convenient locations.
An amazing selection of lighting for any style and budget.
And all at the guaranteed best price.
And did you know
Metro Lighting is a great source for furniture, art, and home decor too.
Metro Lighting.
Full of bright ideas for your home.
Did you know you can include backstoppers in your estate planning? Leaving a legacy gift is a great way to make a lasting impact in our mission. By including a bequest to the backstoppers in your estate planning, your legacy will be to make a difference in the lives of families who have made great sacrifices for our safety. Legacy gifts help send children of fallen heroes to the college of their choice, provide families with health care coverage and all out-of-pocket medical expenses, and so much more. Consider making backstoppers your legacy today at backstoppers.org.
You know what they say, you never get a second chance to make a first impression, and windows and doors are usually that first impression when it comes to your home. Dalco Home Remodeling custom makes their windows and doors, and better yet, they make them here in Missouri. Dalco Home Remodeling is locally and family owned, celebrating 50 years, so they know a thing or two. The Dalco team is known for quality and customer satisfaction. That's the way it was 50 years ago when they started, and that's still true today. So if you're looking to change the look of your home without breaking the bank, call Dalco Home Remodeling. They do free in-home estimates. Just call 314-298-7300 and make an appointment. You can also check them out online at dalcohomeremodeling.com. As they've always said, if you buy somewhere else and find out how much you could have saved at Dalco, you'll blow your stack. So call Dalco first, 314-298-7300.
When you pay for tree work, you want to be sure you're getting the most for your hard-earned money. That's why you should always use the ISA certified arborist at River City Tree Service in Baldwin, Missouri. Hi, I'm Steve with River City Tree Service, and we've been the go-to tree service since 2008. Tree removal, tree trimming, storm damage, deadwood removal, stump grinding, and more. Give River City Tree Service a call for all your tree service needs at 314-270-8071. That's 314-270-8071. River City Tree Service.
Becoming a truck driver doesn't have to be complicated. At Schneider, we make it easy to get your commercial driver's license and start your new career. With our CDL apprenticeship training, you'll get paid to become a truck driver in just 5 to 6 weeks and have a Schneider driving job waiting for you when you've completed the program. Plus, during training, Schneider will provide transportation, lodging, and meals at no cost to you. Ready to get your career on the road? Learn more and apply today at SchneiderJobs.com. That's SchneiderJobs.com.
Looking for a great local restaurant recommendation?
Feed me Seymour.
Tune in to the Kuno Food Service weekly special during the Frank and Jill Show, Thursdays at 11. Hear from the best of the best restaurant owners in town. Only on the Frank and Jill Show, Thursdays at 11, presented by Kuno Food Service, right here on the Big 550 KTRS, the talk of St. Louis.
Back. This is the Frank and Jill Show on the Big 550 KTRS, the Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126. You can watch us on YouTube and Facebook. We're getting some car comments today. In fact, we should just narrow it down to what the crappiest car you've ever had or think. I mean, I think the Vega, my brother had a Vega. That was the worst car probably ever because you felt like when you were there, your feet were actually, touching the ground. It was so terrible. I once drove an AMC Gremlin from Troy, Missouri to Charlotte, North Carolina back then. The AMC Gremlin would definitely be, a top 10 bad car, I think, right?
Yes, it definitely
The
under
Pinto
your guidelines.
Was really hideous. The Corvair was a crappy car, but that's become kind of a classic now. They're valuable. You can buy old Corvairs.
That was the Ralph Air, of course, the Ralph Nader. I think it was, Dangerous at Any Speed. That whole thing was one of the first times that the
I kind of like the look of the Gremlin.
It has
a very unique outline.
A good friend of mine drove a brown one, and let's just say she didn't care much about its upkeep. I was telling Connor in the break that the least expensive car we ever bought was in 1993. We bought an 1980, I believe, Ford Fiesta, very basic model, no bells and whistles, and we bought it from one of the photographers at the station where I worked for $250. He was going to try to trade it in. Yes, he was going to try to trade it in. They weren't going to give him any money at all. We said, we'll give you $250, and you know what? We drove that car for a couple of years and then sold it for $300 to somebody else.
That is the deal of the century. Getting another one, Mercury Comet. 1982, I drove a Ford Pinto all the way to Fort Lauderdale for spring break. Yeah.
Somebody else said they bought their 1985 blue RX-7 that they drove it to 100,000 miles, but knew it was $9,500.
Wow.
For a brand new car.
If I could use that BITCHIN word, that was a cool car. There was no doubt about it. The problem with the RX-7s, they all had rotary engines and they all blew. Mike Claiborne and I had one, and my best friend from high school, Rich Calcaterra, and they all blew like at the same time.
Yeah, one of my friends had an early 80s Mazda. Remember? I mean, not Mazda, an early 80s Mustang when they completely changed the body style. And at the time, we thought it was so cool. I was so jealous. Later on, that body style from that era did not stand the test of time as being one that most people. A 1983 or 1984 Mustang was not ones that people were dying to get their hands on necessarily.
Can they send pictures on the text line, Connor?
They can't, unfortunately.
Oh, because I'd love to see this. Don't speak ill of the Gremlin. I'll point out that I had a Levi's edition with denim-covered seats.
Maybe I can try to find that online.
Oh, my gosh, that is beautiful. Ralph Nader had a problem with the Pinto. Good for Ralph. So did the rest of us.
Yeah, but it was this era of... but Unsafe at Any Speed was him criticizing the Corvair, and then he went after the Pintos as well. Something to do with the engine in the back right, and if you got hit, it exploded. My late husband's first car was a Plymouth Barracuda named the Golden Fleece. Wow, that's really good. Yeah.
I had a silver RX-7, then a dark blue RX-7 Turbo. Yeah. Do you remember that car, by the way?
Oh, sure.
That thing was, wow.
Yes. So, nope. Somebody says the 83 Mustang is the Fox body, or somebody else said, no, it's called the Mustang 2, and it actually is very popular. Okay, good to know.
My friend Bob Frischman, my brother had a Gremlin. He bought it brand new, and he drove it to Mexico City and back. Man, that's crazy.
Yep. Those anything that was roadworthy. The bottom line was you bought the car, and if you didn't have a lot of cash in your pocket, you drove it and hoped that it didn't break down on the side of the road. But I did. Did you have any breakdowns through the years when you were driving somebody else or one of those early cars or your parents?
Yeah, I think I blew one of Monique's cars up. Yeah, from her dad hated me for a while.
Yes, a lot of our friends thought we were committing child abuse because we had our kids drive old cars that were not the most reliable, because we figured by the time they were driving, there was this thing called a cell phone, so they were always a phone call away. And Peyton was driving down, I think it was over somewhere in your neighborhood, picking up some kids getting ready to pick up kids she was babysitting for, and she dropped an axle and it just, not on the highway, but just on the side of the road. And we were like, well, that car's done. And she said at the time she wasn't happy about it, but she thinks the whole experience maybe helped her gain some character.
It's a learning experience.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a good one. The Chevette. I mean, in terms of being a bad one, this is on the list. That Chevette was just, that was so bad. These are great suggestions.
Yep.
All right, let's take one more break. This is the Frank and Jill Show on the Big 550 KTRS.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURY, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset. Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella Windows specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. And have a banner day.
Hi, it's Frank Cusimano inviting you to join me for the Press Box, brought to you by Control Option, Monday through Thursday at 6 p.m. We're going to interview some of the biggest names in sports and have our opening monologue. That's the Press Box, brought to you by Control Option, Monday through Thursday at 6 p.m. right here on the Big 550 KTRS, the talk of St. Louis.
The future of vehicle inspections is now at St. Paul Cadillac. Hi, this is Joe Clemens. We are excited and proud to now offer you the latest in vehicle inspection technology. It's called UVI. Imagine getting an MRI scan for your vehicle, and St. Paul is the only dealership in the Midwest to offer you this technology. You have to see it and experience to fully appreciate UVI. The underbody scanner will produce a high-resolution imagery in just seconds, and machine learning algorithms will expose mechanical and safety issues that will be shared with our St. Paul service professionals. You will receive a full report detailing fluid leaks, misaligned parts, rust, tire wear, or damaged components. UVI will even let you know where every scratch or dent is located on your vehicle, ones you might not even know existed. UVI is the future of vehicle inspections, and it's only at St. Paul Cadillac. Come by today and see for yourself or schedule an appointment. The future of service is here. UVI only at St. Paul Cadillac, I-55 at the Herculaneum Auto Mall.
Everyone's talking about these weight loss drugs, and it's a good thing we've got Dr. Joe Molesky with us, a St. Louis native and board-certified primary care physician. Dr. Joe, it can get very confusing, but the one thing we need to know is GLP-1, right? That's the magic cure.
The magic cure is these weight loss shots.
They're injected once weekly. They're not like the old medications that you've seen 20, 30 years ago. These medications actually work. They're injected once weekly, and patients see within the first 90 days 10 to 15 pounds down. It simply works, and that's why I recommend it to all of my patients. You simply go online, book an appointment. You fill out a health questionnaire form. You get an appointment on our schedule. It's all telemedicine based. It's all done from your home. And then you meet with me or one of my nurse practitioners. And then after the 10, 15-minute consult, the medication is delivered right to your door discreetly, and you get started right now on your weight loss journey.
And you want to start to lose weight? None better than to call STLMedWeightLoss.com and ask Dr. Joe. STLMedWeightLoss.com.
Hey, it's Julie Buck for our friends at Triad Bank. They are a full-service financial institution, and they've been in St. Louis for over 20 years with 2 locations, one at Clayton and Lindbergh, and the other one just west of 270 on Olive. If you've got your own business and you want to have a better banking experience, look no further than Triad Bank. Their mission is to provide a wide range of commercial and personal banking services to you and your business. For more, go to triadbanking.com.
Fun conversation on the text line, per usual. You guys are so darn smart. Several of you did say Mustang 2 or talking about it, but the Mustang that I was actually talking about, I've looked it up now. I'm looking at it. 1984 Ford Mustang GT. There's a hatchback version. That's what my really good friend Cindy's dad had. We thought it was kind of cool when he got it. I have to say it has not stood the test of time for me. That's not my favorite Mustang model.
But I think we have a new leader in the clubhouse for worst cars ever made or worst ideas, and that's the AMC Pacer. Just Google a 1975 AMC Pacer and ask yourself, who came up with this idea?
What were they thinking? Why is there this like rounded fishbowl window in the back? I don't understand.
I wonder, like, if they're expensive now to buy one of those.
Yeah, I had a friend whose brother graduated from Washington University and studied engineering and ended up going and working in Detroit for a couple of different car makers through the course of his long career there. And he said, you know, one of the things they were always trying to do is come up with the next thing. And at one point they were talking about trying to get the engineers and designers to think of the next hatchback, because the hatchback was such a 1970s
it was
innovation.
Yeah,
that was so radical to think about being able to lift up that kind of lid. It's kind of what we would think of, I guess, as the DeLorean wing. It was the equivalent of the DeLorean wing doors of its day.
They go, if you were to try to buy one now, between $8,300 and $23,000, and there's one as high as $71,500. The AMC Pacer.
I'm seeing a 76 with 66,000 miles that you could get today for $8,900.
Wow!
It's somebody else on the text line from the 314 saying the Pacers have one door longer than the other.
Really?
I know. I hadn't heard that before. That is something else. I have never heard that on any car up to this point.
You know what car that I would buy if I could get like an old one and money wasn't an object? I'd buy like one of those old Thunderbirds. You ever seen those?
Oh, gosh, yes. Those are great.
Yeah, that was like Monique's favorite, too.
My friend had a Cutlass. Remember the Cutlass Supreme?
Oh, those were great.
That was a cool
All my brothers
car.
had them. Yeah.
Speaking of a large frontal crush area, as we were talking about before on the Buicks.
Yeah.
What's coming up on the press box tonight?
Tonight, we are going to talk some football with Howard Balzer, baseball with Rob Raines, who's headed to do a story on J.J. Weatherholt. And Darren Hendrickson, the head baseball coach at St. Louis University, is going to join us. He's going to tell us about why and when Jose Canseco is coming to our city for a fundraiser for SLU. Jose Canseco in St. Louis. That's kind of cool.
And Jeff Smith coming in tomorrow, political analyst, always on the cutting edge of some interesting things in the world of politics. What do you think we're going to be able to get from him tomorrow in our conversation?
I think he's going to give us a good idea on Mamdani and the impact of what that could do to the Democratic Party. What about Kamala Harris, who's out in terms of running for California, but is this book kind of like just kind of finding out what kind of interest there is in her for running for president in 2020?
Yeah, and I think he'll have some interesting things to say about Texas gerrymandering and how other Democratic states will try to get in that game.
And I'm sure he'll have a thought about Sam Page.
Yeah, I bet you're exactly right about that. Of course, Sarah Frensky's joining us. They've been doing some breaking news over at St. Louis Magazine. She'll have some hot topics for us tomorrow as well. Julie, John, and Max up next on The Carney Show. Make sure you keep your dial right here for that. Very fun show today. Thanks, as always, for being with us, you guys. Until tomorrow, make it a great day.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.